Melbourne town where the suits all grind. There's a lawyer with a vision, one of a kind. He's the Aussie Overlaw'd. He'll fight for your rights, and he's got his own channel shining bright. From the courtroom to the web, he's got it all. Sharing legal knowledge, answering the call.
And at that point, I had the right to remain silent, but I didn't have the ability.
And of course, there was always going to be some sort of boomer. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night, and welcome to today's episode of To Be Advised, people. I'll be perfectly honest. Honest? Tonight's not going to be terribly exciting for most people. Unfortunately, because the Australian government have decided that they want to try and ram the under 16 social media ban down the Australian people's throats, I have less than 18 hours to prepare a submission against the piece of legislation. For some reason, it was introduced into Parliament earlier today, and submissions for and against close at 5 p.m. tomorrow. I have a full day of work, despite the fact that I apparently tested positive for COVID instead of bronchitis, so I'm particularly screwed. So I've still got to try and get through that somehow. So what that means is that I have to flog my way through the bill, the 30 pages of explanatory memorandum, preferably the question time video so I can see exactly what Michelle Rowland was talking about when she was talking out of her ass about the bill, and then draft up a fairly coherent and cogent and a whole lot of other C-word, let's face it, there'll be at least one C-word in there, and put that in so that I can at least vent my spleen over the government deciding to try and, let's face it, they're trying to backdoor the digital ID, they're trying to control parenting, they're trying to do any number of things that I am vehemently against. Now, I also had I had someone reach out to me and ask about some other things today, and, you know, a little bit of back and forth and that sort of thing. I know that Aussies versus the Agenda, when I last checked, was still streaming, and they're, oh my god, the camera's doing that thing again. So, I don't know. I don't know that enough of us are going to be putting in a submission that is not going to just get ignored, but this is something I'm passionate about, so we're going to be putting one together. I will then submit it to the Australian Federal Parliament, and we're going to go from there. Now, if you are just filtering in, people, just have a look at the poll. Jason has graciously decided to commit to $200 worth of stuff, be it a super chat for me or memberships for you guys, in order for me to do an entire stream on Rumble tomorrow. I might slice it up. We might do a what do you call it? A more traditional show on YouTube, and then we'll all head over to Rumble, and anything and everything that Jason provides me, I will go over and I will react to. So that's right, people. I am a whore. I will happily do stuff for money. It's nice to see the people supporting the channel. So hey, it is what it is. But yes, most definitely vote in the poll whether or not you want that to be a super chat, or wow, the super chat is actually in the lead. Holy shit. All right. Let's get stuck into it, although I just realized I have not yet pulled up the video and set that up, so give me 2 seconds. Because, you know, I take a couple of days off streaming and everything goes out the window. So what the hell actually... What did she have to say for herself?
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Communications. How will the Albanese Labor government's legislation for social media...
Oh, this is one of the things that really frickin' annoys me about Australian Parliament too. This is question time. Is the bot on? The bot should be on. Hang on. Hang on, I'll check whether or not the bot is on. Bot? On? Oh, it had signed out for some reason. But no, the bot was not on. It is now on. Bot is now on. Reset the cache so everyone gets... That should be fine. Okay. Now, what I was saying is, question time. It's basically like what you guys in America see on C-SPAN, but it's an opportunity for predetermined questions to be asked of members of parliament so that they can bluster and pomp and preen about themselves and get across the message that they want to provide. So, for example, here you've got Matt Burnell from the Australian Labor Party, who is the party that is currently in our government, and he's going to ask a very pre-recorded, not pre-recorded, a pre-worded and pre-structured question of Michelle Rowlands about the bill that she's putting in. Oh yes, they are absolutely arrogant SOBs, honestly, Gemini. The wife looked at me and said, "Why the hell have you not gotten into politics yet?" And I'm like, I don't know, maybe in another decade when I feel a little bit more like qualified. But listen to the tone and the language that he puts into this question in order to set it up so that the Minister for Communications, the cow that has put this bill into Parliament, so that she can just bluster away for a good 10, 15 minutes. Honestly, it's pathetic, in my opinion.
...age limits, support families and promote healthier outcomes for young Australians?
Good question.
So if you didn't catch that, his question was to the Minister for Communications about how the bill will better foster... Wait, what did he say? Safer places for children and shit like that?
Support families and promote healthier outcomes.
Secure families and promote healthier outcomes for children. How will banning kids from social media help families and promote children? Like, I am still out of it.
For young Australians.
Good question.
Good question. Bite me.
The Minister for Communications.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and I thank the member for his question.
Of course
Today,
you do, because
the
it's not
Albanese
in no way
government
set up.
introduced world-leading legislation that sets a minimum age of 16 years for social media.
World-leading legislation. Meaning we are the petri dish, which is astounding because aren't they arresting people in the UK for posting memes? Yeah, okay.
We understand the deep concern of many parents about the harmful impacts of social media, including screen addiction on their children.
Fuck off. Seriously. If parents are worried about screen addiction, it is literally as easy as taking away the charger from your kids and watching the fear in their eyes as the battery slowly disappears off the tablet. This is not okay.
Parents have told us that they want help managing their children's use of social media, and the Albanese government is taking action.
What parent in their right mind is saying that they want help from the government to parent their kids? To act like a goddamn parent. Jesus Christ.
The Online Safety Amendment, Social Media Minimum Age Bill 2024, will deliver greater protections for young Australians during critical stages of their development. This bill seeks to set a new normative value in society, that accessing social media is not the defining feature of growing up in Australia. It creates a new definition of age-restricted social media platforms to capture those services where a significant purpose of the service is to enable social interaction between two or more users. At a minimum, this will capture TikTok, Facebook, Snapchat, Reddit, Instagram and X, amongst others.
I had heard today, I haven't read through the explanatory memorandum yet, but apparently, based on educational value, YouTube will be exempt. But you notice how X is still in there?
The law places the onus on social media platforms, not parents or young people, to take reasonable steps to ensure these protections are in place. The bill and the associated rules I intend to make will ensure continued access to messaging and online gaming.
Now, listen to the wording of what she said there. The bill and the associated rules. Now, this is something that someone on X asked me about earlier today. What the difference between legislative rules are and actual legislation. Legislative rules are basically a delegation of power from an act. So an act of parliament, as with any other bill, gets voted on, goes through the parliament, goes through the two houses, all that sort of stuff. A legislative instrument, rules, regulations, standards, whatever else you want to call it, it is quite literally some unelected bureaucrats in a government department write out some rules and give it force of law. There is very little oversight over it, and it is entirely up to them how it is worded. And worse yet, those rules can be written and rewritten as much as they like, without any form of approval by Parliament, without anything like that. The fact that she is already specifying in this that it's the bill plus the rules that they can change and alter at any point down the track is terrifying to me. Oz Doge when? Oh, we should only be so lucky. Still don't know how they're going to police it. Jill, here's the thing. I know how they're going to police it because they've come out and flat out said it. They're going to police it by forcing everybody over the age of 16 to verify their identity to use these platforms. Because they've already said that that is the only way that they can enforce it.
And continued access to services which are health and education related, such as Headspace, Kids Helpline, Google Classroom and YouTube. The legislation contains penalties which could see platforms face fines of up to $50 million for systemic breaches. The bill also contains robust privacy provisions over and above what is set out in existing privacy laws. Under the proposed legislation, platforms will be required to destroy data collected for age assurance purposes when the age assurance process is complete. Not destroying data would be a breach of the Privacy Act, with penalties also of up to $50 million. The government will also provide funding for e-safety and the Information Commissioner to support strong oversight.
Oh yes, let's give the E-Karen some additional funding and power. It's not like she's already, I mean, thank God it sounds like the mis/disinformation bill is going to be dead in the water. But yes, let's give Julie Grant extra powers over kids of all things.
I want to be open with the Parliament that this bill is complex and the approach we are taking is novel.
The bill is complex? It's one of the shorter pieces of legislation I've seen. So if you're telling me that how this is going to work is complex, the majority of what you're telling me is that almost all of it's going to be contained in the rules, of which, for the most part, will never see the light of day and the everyday Australian will know nothing about.
Age assurance technology is not going to be 100% childproof, but we should not let the perfect be the enemy of the good.
Yeah. Which is why you should have nothing to do with it. The fact that parents aren't perfect at parenting does not mean that the government should stick their noses in to how people deal with it. You've just made my argument for me.
The legislation brought forward by the Albanese government is, in the most fundamental sense, about helping families when they're sitting around the kitchen table to have that hard conversation about accessing social media.
Are you fucking kidding me? That hard conversation around the kitchen table where a parent just has to sit there and say, hey, you're not allowed on social media, or I think you're on social media too much. Oh no, now the parents can just pass the buck and say, well, it's not on me. The government said you can't do it. Get fucked.
Our laws will enable parents to say no. This normative...
What? The laws will allow parents to say, how about they just fucking say no? You know, I kind of promised my wife I'd try and keep the swearing and the yelling to a minimum tonight. Apparently not going to happen.
The value is immense because it will reduce the peer pressure that children feel to be on social media just because their friends are. And I thank the many parents, experts and young Australians who've participated in our consultations. The government looks forward to the Parliament's examination of the bill, and we will continue to engage constructively to see it progressed.
On indulgence, the member banks will have the call to support what the minister was saying.
Now, this pisses me off, and this is why we cannot trust anything that either side of of politics in Australia have to say about shit. Because this guy is the shadow communications minister, who we just heard from is the cabinet member for communications. She works for the government. This guy that's about to stand up and talk is her opposition, her exact counterpart in the shadow cabinet. Okay? He's supposed to be fucking against what she says.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in support of the remarks of the Minister for Communications. This issue of the safety of Australian children online from social media is one of the defining issues of our era.
No, it's really not. You know what it is? The mass immigration that we have. The fact that, you know what? Who the fuck cares if these kids are on social media if they don't have a goddamn roof over their heads because of the housing crisis, because of the economic crisis that the government and you lot have dragged us fucking into? Well, I'm actually spitting. Sorry. When they say it's not complex, just means Parliament's just giving authority to said agency, and that agency will write a 4,000-page convolution of regulations. Exactly.
Of totemic significance in our community, and what we've seen
that's exactly what it is, Pueblo.
In the impact on the mental health of Australian children from social media has been absolutely appalling. The social media companies for too long have abrogated their responsibility to care.
What about the parents abrogating their responsibility to care for their kids? I'm sorry, the buck stops with them. And they're the only people that should have the buck stop with them. I don't care what corporation is running a app. I don't care. Because you know what? My daughter only has access to the things that I allow her to.
About Australian children. And when we look at the data on the mental health of Australian children, especially girls, we see devastating impacts. We welcome this legislation being put forward. The Leader of the Opposition committed the Coalition to a very similar policy back in June, and we look forward to working constructively on this legislation with a view to seeing it pass through the Parliament next week.
Next week. It was introduced today, and they want it passed next week because next week is the final sitting for the year. They're trying to ram this down through our throat. They're trying to ram it through down our throats within a week. And when I say within a week, the last sitting day should be Monday. Oh wait, no, through to the 28th. So there's literally a week. They have through until next Thursday. Different bill, Drone. The misinformation bill failed. This is not the misinformation bill. This is kids off social media unless they're over 16. Which they have already said the only way that they can enforce that is forcing everybody to verify their age over the age of 16. And you can't tell me that it's not a hop, skip, and a jump. No, it's not even a skip and a jump. It's a hop to them forcing that to be through digital ID. So anyway, that's the whole purpose of tonight, is that I'm looking through this. Question time was always going to piss me off, but now I'm going to actually look at the bill, the explanatory memorandum, and then this one's more likely to pass. Darren, it's got bipartisan support. Yeah, it's a digital ID thing. That's exactly what it is. This bill is purely a backdoor to force people into digital ID. That's all it is. Because in order to verify using the age assurance trials and that sort of shit, basically parents or anyone that's over the age of 16 that wants to use one of these apps. And the funny thing is, it's not just social media, because if you notice, when Rawlins was talking about it, she listed off a whole bunch of apps there that do not include social media apps. For example, WhatsApp. Which, as far as I'm concerned, I wouldn't class that as a social media app. I use WhatsApp Business for my firm. Parents need to be more involved in the online activity. Yep. All right, so where the fuck is this bill? All right. I'm going to move this across here. I'm going to move OBS over there. I'm going to pull this up on my main screen so that I can on it. North of Australia, House of Representatives, I do apologise if I don't pay too much attention to chat. In the meantime, I am going to be reading for the purpose of what I'm going to prepare and put in my own submission on this. Every time getting closer to modification of a bulldozer. Don't do anything stupid, but if you need some, I might know where you can get some scrap metal. WhatsApp is social media, or Skype is social media. Digital ID is more about removing anonymity on the internet than anything else, other than go after individuals. Because Albanese has a really big problem about people making memes about him. Where else in the world do they have issues with you making a meme about their leader? I'm trying to think now. He needs to run for a government position. I can't right now. I am legitimately not in a position where I would be able to. Otherwise, I would consider it. Albo's never been fit, let alone for being fit for PM. Look at this. Look, this is it, okay? The entire bill is 17 pages. Okay? The way that she was talking about it being a complex issue that's going to require regulation and rules and all that sort of stuff. This bill is 17 pages, which, like I said, means that the bulk and lion's share of... No, not even the bulk and lion's share. 99.9% of the rules and regulations that we're going to be bound by are going to be decided by some unelected bureaucrat under this act. It's never going to see any scrutiny through Parliament. It's never going to have any challenges by the public. And what they've done is given us 24 hours starting at 5 p.m. today in order to lodge submissions against this bill. It's horseshit, and they've done it deliberately. All right, so what do we got? Oh, look at this. Of it, there's quite a few pages that are blank. Bill to amend the Online Safety Act. Each provision, signal commands, blah blah blah. Don't care about that. Schedules, don't care about that. Okay, so the amendment to the Online Safety Act. There are age restrictions for certain social media platforms. Provider of such a platform must take reasonable steps to prevent children who have not reached the minimum age from having accounts. Insert age-restricted platform has the meaning given by Section 63C. Age-restricted user means an Australian child who has not reached 16 years. Oh, interesting. An Australian child. So theoretically, if someone comes into Australia on a... I mean, theoretically, if someone were here visiting internationally, they would not be restricted. They would be able to access social media while they're here. I mean, I suppose it makes sense. They only want to be able to... While he was running for anything in America, someone accused him of rape. Oh, thanks, Kathy. When you submit it, remember to verify your age. It's fine. I'll take a photo of my beard and let them suss it out. After social media service, insert age-restricted social media platform. Well, I'm going to have to open up the Online Safety Act in order to work out whether... Safety Act. Out of here, didn't I? So what do we got? Online Safety Act, Section 63C. C. Basic online safety. Wait, what? 63C. Self-incrimination? That can't be right. Unless they're going to insert another... Okay, yeah, so they're going to... Okay, so it's there. I'm getting ahead of myself. This is why you got to read these bills in, like... Okay. Age restriction, social media service, da-da-da. Okay, Section 25. Omit coordinating activities of government departments, authorities, and agencies related to online safety for Australians. Okay. Section 25 originally said... Simplified outline of this part. There is to be an e-safety commissioner. The function of the commissioner is to promote online safety in Australia, administer complaints, coordinating activities of government departments, authorities, and agencies related to online safety for Australia. Interesting. They're removing part of the e-safety commissioner's powers, apparently. Nope, they're substituting coordinating activities for government departments, authorities, and agencies online safety. What's changed there? Oh, for Australians, and performing various functions relating to social media. Okay, so they're going to give the power directly to Julian and Grant with the e-safety commissioner. Right. If I could put in a complaint and go full Karen on this, I would. Well, that's the best part about this, Deanna, because once I'm done going through the legislation, I'm going to show you all how you can put in your own submission. Even if you're not from Australia, you can put in said submission. I will even provide you guys with a template one about how this is irresponsible in a global world where kids need to be intellectually illiterate. Not intellectually. Oh my God, my words are not working. This is going to be a shit show. To formulate in writing guidelines for the taking of reasonable steps to prevent age-restricted users having accounts with age-restricted social media platforms, and to promote guidelines formulated under So, the e-safety commissioner will officially have power to formulate in writing guidelines for the taking of reasonable steps to prevent age-restricted users having accounts with age-restricted social media platforms. So the e-safety commissioner will have the power to set up the guidelines and requirements. Guidelines formulated under paragraph 1QA are not legislative instruments. Oh, so they will not have the force of law. That's a little bit different. Okay, so after part 4, which is basic online safety expectations, we will now have part 4A. Providers of certain kinds of social media platforms must take reasonable steps to prevent children who have not reached a minimum age from having accounts. The requirement takes effect on the day specified by the minister. There are privacy protections for information collected by social media platforms for purposes of the minimum age requirement. Object of this part is to reduce the risk of harm to age-restricted users from using certain kinds of social media platforms. For the purposes of this Act, age-restricted social media platform means an electronic service that satisfies the following conditions. A sole purpose or significant purpose of the service is to enable online social interaction between two or more end users. Service allows end users to link to or interact with some or all other end users. Service allows end users to post material on the service. Such other conditions, if any, as are set out in the legislative rules. So, literally, okay. First red flag. First major red flag here. Okay? Hang on, where is my... Do I have a highlighter? No, not highlight. Oh well, it doesn't matter. So, under the Act, age-restricted social media platform means any of these things. And then you've got such other conditions, if any, as set out in the legislative rules. So, after the fact, the e-safety commissioner will be able to designate anything that they want in terms of an age-restricted social media platform by merely incorporating it into the set of legislative rules that they can change at any time of their own accord. That's some bullshit. An electronic service specified in the legislative rules, but does not include services mentioned in subsection 6. For the purpose of subsection 1A1, online social interaction includes online interaction that enables end users to share material for social purposes. Does not, for example, include business purposes. Determining whether a condition sets out is satisfied, disregard any of the following purposes: the provision of advertising material on the service, generation of revenue from the provision of advertising material on the service. The minister may only make legislative rules specifying an electronic service for the purposes of 1B if the minister is satisfied that it is reasonably necessary to do so in order to minimise harm to age-restricted users. That means shit all. Taking us a step closer to communism. Kind of feels like it, yeah. That's why... Okay, so pretty much the minister can determine whatever legislative rules apply to any new and up and coming social media platform, pretty much in their discretion, because it's not difficult for them to be satisfied that it may be reasonably necessary to do something in order to minimize harm to age restricted users. Before making legislative rules specifying an electronic service for the purpose of 1B, the minister must seek advice from the commissioner. Oh, yes, because I'm sure that the e-safety commissioner is going to have any sort of issues with providing the name of certain social media platforms that they have an issue with. The minister may seek advice from any other authorities or agencies of the Commonwealth that the minister considers relevant. Or, could just not. All right, services that are not age-restricted social media platforms. Electronic service is not an age-restricted social media platform if none of the material on the service is accessible to or delivered to one or more end users in Australia. No shit. No shit. Why would you think that you can legislate about a social media service that has no presence in Australia whatsoever? You would lack jurisdictional standing to even make the legislation. Why are you even bothering to include that in there? Or if the service is specified in the legislative rules. So basically, it's exempt if Julie Eamon Grant says it's exempt. We're making legislative rules specifying an electronic service for the purpose of the paragraph 6B. Minister must seek the advice from the commissioner, blah, blah, blah. Civil penalty. Okay, here we go. Civil penalty for failing to take reasonable steps to prevent age-restricted users having accounts. This is the backhanded shot at X. A provider of an age-restricted social media platform must take reasonable steps to prevent age-restricted users having accounts within the age-restricted social media platform. How much do you want to bet Blue Sky doesn't wind up on the age-restricted list? $30,000 penalty units. Federal penalty unit. Okay, so a federal penalty unit is $197.59. $59,627,700. $60 million Australian, admittedly. Delayed effect of civil penalty provisions. Section 63D takes effect on the day specified in an instrument under Section 2 of this section. Minister may, by notable instruments, specify a day for the purpose of subsection 1. Specified day must not be earlier than 12 months after the day the section commences. To avoid doubt, the obligation in Section 63D applies in relation to accounts with an age-restricted social media platform if the account exists on or after the day Section 63D takes effect, including accounts that begin to exist before that day and accounts that begin to... Are you freaking kidding me? Are you kidding me? So, X, Snapchat, WhatsApp, they're all going to have to make sure that all accounts, not that they're active, they're going to have to make sure that all accounts for anyone 16 years and older are turfed off of the platform on the day that this comes into effect. Otherwise, they will be charged $60 million for a breach. How do you even begin to police that? Information collected for the purposes of including reasonable steps to comply with age restriction. If an entity holds personal information about the individual, it was collected for the purposes of, or purposes including the purpose of, taking reasonable steps to prevent age-restricted users from having accounts with an age-restricted social media platform, and the user discloses the information otherwise than for the purpose of determining, in circumstances where the Australian privacy principles apply, or with the consent of the individual, which must be in accordance with Section 2, user discloses the information taken to be an interference with privacy or covered by Section 13 of the Act. Consent must be voluntary, informed, current, specific, unambiguous. The individual must be able to withdraw consent in a manner that is easily accessible to the individual. Okay, so that's all about collection of private information. Oh god, and they're giving even more powers. What are reasonable steps? They need to define it. Oh, they will as part of the rules. The rules and the guidelines that Julian Grant and the E-Safety Commissioner get to create after this passes. It's the voice all over again. We're gonna vote to pass it, but we'll tell you the details after we pass it. This section applies to a person if the commissioner believes on reasonable grounds the person is the provider of an age-restricted social media platform and the person has information relevant to the person's compliance with notice. A person must comply with a requirement under section 63G to the extent that the person is capable of doing so. Platform provider notifications. What was the previous penalty? That's section 143(2). Content scheme. Legal notices. Link deletion. Closer. 139. 143. Compliance with industry codes. 143(2). 42. Fuck me sideways. Section 143(2), penalty. Section 143, compliance with industry codes. If a person is a participant of a particular section of an online industry and the commissioner is satisfied that the person has contravened or is contravening an industry code that is registered under this division and applies to the participants in that section of industry. Remember, those codes that the E-Safety Commissioner will be able to create after this passes. The commissioner may, by written notice, direct that person to comply with the industry code. They must comply with said direction under subsection 1. Civil penalty for contravention of that subsection was 500 penalty units. So was... Wait, did I do the math on that wrong? I think I might have mistyped when I typed that before. Shit. I think I got all the hot under the collar better being 60 millimeter. I don't know that was accurate. $197.59. $59 times 500. Okay. So originally, the civil penalty for breaching section 143, compliance with industry codes, was $98,795 for 500 penalty units. It is now 30,000 penalty units. That's an additional 29,500 penalty units. Yeah, okay, so I added an extra zero. So that has jumped from 98,000 to $6 million. Yes, per day. This could kill social media in Australia. Social media platforms could be fucked trying to enforce ID requirements. It's not only... No, I fully expect a bunch of the social media platforms to pull out of Australia. I really do. At the end of section 143, adds subsection 93 to the Regulatory Power Standard Provisions Act 2014 does not apply in relation to contravention of this subsection. Section 146, they've done the same thing. They've replaced the 500 with 30,000 penalty units. Industry standard applies to a particular section of the industry and they fail to comply, it's 500 penalty units. So basically, the E-Safety Commission can turn around to create whatever standards that they want to apply to social media companies, and if they fail to follow through with them, they can issue a notice charging them $6 million for each breach. After social media service, wherever occurring, insert age-restricted social media platform. Review of social media minimum age. Within 2 years after the day of Section 63D taking effect in accordance with Section 63E, the Minister must cause to be conducted an independent review of the operation of Part 4A. oh, the independent reviews never show anything. It'll show what the government wants them to show. Minister must cause to be prepared a written report for review. Minister must cause copies of the report to be tabled in each House of Parliament within 15 days. Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay, Jason, you've made your point. People, for those of you that do not know, tomorrow there will be a Rumble-only stream where Jason will be throwing pretty much anything and everything he wants me to look at and review. So hopefully it won't get me deplatformed, but there's a reason it'll be a Rumble exclusive. Grab the wife and kid and get to America? I'd like to. Money to grab is what it's plain and simple. I don't think it's even that. It's they want to grab the money if they don't do what they say, basically. Is this really just an elaborate revenge plan for what's a face to stick it to the company that booted her? I think that's part of it, Buru Berries, but my thoughts on this, plain and simple, are that this is a backdoor to force everyone in Australia to obtain digital ID, because they've already said, I've said it a few times tonight, but they have already said the only way to enforce this is for all Australians 16 and over to verify their identity through the age assurance trials. So that's pretty much, for a good number of people, that's going to be, oh, we'll have to sign up for a digital ID. You need a laugh today, got a 2-minute one for you. Probably not today's stinge, but I appreciate it. Depends on what the social media platform sets as ID requirements. Could easily get around with a fake ID, maybe. Well, see, here's the thing, Liberty Prime. What they've said here is that the E-Safety Commissioner, and therefore Julie Grant, will be setting the industry standards as to what the ID standards are. They tried to get around it. They tried to bury it in here. The initial one, they made it sound like it was guidelines to be followed. But under Section 146, 143, and a couple other things in there, it's very clear to me that it will be the E-Safety Commissioner setting how the social media companies are required to do it. It's not going to be up to the social media companies to actually implement it. Well, I mean, it'll be up to them to implement it, but basically, the E-Safety Commissioner will be telling them what to do, and if they don't do it, they'll get fined for it. Age Discrimination Act 2004, Schedule 2 after Table 8, insert the Online Safety Act 2021. Presumably that's to avoid it'll be added to the schedule of acts that the Discrimination Act does not apply to. Amendment to Section 143 of the Online Safety Act made by the schedule apply in relation to directions given that under the section on or at the commencement of the schedule include such directions given in relation to industry codes that are registered before that commencement. The amendments to Section 146 made by the schedule apply in relation to a failure to comply with an industry standard that occurs on or after the commencement of the schedule. There it is there. Will I come on here to direct us to the Rumble stream? Yeah, we'll probably do a regular show here as well. And then we'll go over to Rumble and just have a blast. So almost sounds like they're trying to kill social media in Australia as a testing grounds. Look, there are multiple ways that this can go. There are multiple reasons why I'm thinking that they're doing this, and there are multiple ways that I genuinely believe that this is full of shit, and they're just trying to... Safety in charge of social media. Apparently words break bones. Yep.
SeedFan85 said, wouldn't it be easier just to pass a law mandating for kids' versions of social media applications rather than punishing everyone with a digital ID?
It would, SeedFan, but that would defeat the purpose of the Australian government trying to force everyone to have a digital ID. Because effectively what the digital ID is that they want it so that it is tied so your online presence is effectively tied to your driver's license, your passport, and your home and phone IP addresses, so you have no anonymity online. They are literally trying to force as many people on there as they can, and for a good part, I do think that that's because Albanese has a bee in his bonnet about people that make memes about him. But thank you very much for the super chat. Very much appreciate that. Okay, so that was the actual act itself. So it is fairly short, but it's got some sting to it. So the e-safety commissioner will come up with the industry standards if the social media platforms such as X and presumably even YouTube as well, because I will notice there's nothing in the bill itself about the exemption for YouTube. I mean, Michelle Rowland was saying today that apparently there's supposed to be an exemption for YouTube. I'm not seeing anything in here, which means that we're relying on the rules that can be written and rewritten. Where did it say? It said that there was a list, but I didn't see a list. Where is it? For making legislative rules specifying electronic services, minister must have. Yep, so that's about making rules. Services that are not age-restricted platforms. An electronic service is not an age-restricted platform if none of the materials available online or the service is specified in the legislative rules. There it is there. Impossible to enforce. Every country that's attempted something like this has failed and given up. Jaron, I pray that they give up on it. I really do. I pray. But I think that Rollins is just enough of a Karen to keep pushing it. Eamon Grant wants the power, in my opinion, and Albo doesn't like people making fun of him. They are going to continue pushing this until they have us by the short and curlies. And what is really pissing me off is that the Liberals are more than happy to agree to this as well. Because frankly, I think that they want the digital ID to come through as well, which is what this is. It's a backdoor to forcing everyone to have digital ID. All right, so this is the explanatory memorandum, which is basically a nice long essay about what the purposes are, how they got to it, and all that sort of stuff. This, ironically, is much longer than the bill itself. This is where I actually have to start taking notes and stuff so that I can start drafting up my submission. All right, the Online Safety Amendment, social media, the Online Safety Act, with the aim of establishing a minimum age for social media use, placing responsibility on social media platforms for the safety of their users. Until now, the incentive for social media companies has been to optimize user engagement and time spent on platforms. As previously articulated by the chief executive of a major video streaming service, we're now competing with sleep on the margin. While this impacts all users of social media, it's particularly detrimental to children and young people who are generally more vulnerable to the harms associated with the platform. As a result, digital natives are growing up in an online ecosystem where protections put in place by platforms have not kept up pace with the harms. You know what the problem is? You know how they've always said the court system is always 10 years behind technology and the government are at least 20 years behind? This is basically the government throwing a lasso into the future and dragging everyone back by the nuts. That's what this is. Because of the minority, they strip rights from everyone? Yep. Easy Dirty Bird, hello. Beard, sorry. Get my lighter out. Oh, yes, I'm terrible at grifting. People, for God's sakes, hit the like button, will you? Setting a minimum age. The bill will set a minimum age for users to hold a social media account to protect, not isolate young Australians. Young people's use of social media is a complex issue, and there is currently no clear or agreed age at which children can safely use social media. Of course not, because that's up to each individual parent to decide what works for their kid and what doesn't. Excuse me. Apparently it's not bronchitis, it's COVID, so I'm not going anywhere tomorrow. Social media services vary greatly. Children can also vary substantially in how they use social media, including which platforms they access, the content and communities they engage in, and the digital features that they are exposed to. God forbid that means that, God forbid they should run into some information that is contrary to the government narrative. Recommend sending Elon a copy. Oh, Elon's already well aware of this. Because Albanese, the Prime Minister, put out a tweet earlier today about how they'd introduced the legislation. And Elon was not impressed. He quote tweeted him and basically said, seems like this is seems like this is just a backdoor to the internet of all Australians. Need a parallel internet free from the government presence. I would like to see, I mean, frankly, I'm thinking that I'm going to have to get Starlink, but anyway. Um, Our minimum age of access under terms of services for all major social media services is 13 years. This stems from the 1998 decision of the United States Congress in the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, which prohibits websites from collecting information on children younger than 13 years without consent. Legislation predates the existence of social media and is not an indication that these services are safe to use at this age, or based on any evidence that 13 is an appropriate age at which adolescents have capacity to engage in safely in these services. Oh, this is the UK study that she mentioned. So Rawlins referred to a freaking study out of the UK about how in support of teens being banned. The co-author of the study came out and said that she'd misunderstood the information and that the study did not support her views, which I thought was hilarious. You just know E-Safety Commission will target X with this? Abso-friggin-lutely. A study published in 22, which examined longitudinal data from more than 17,400 participants, found that adolescent social media use is predictive of a subsequent decrease in life satisfaction for certain developmental stages, including for girls aged 11 to 13 and boys 14 to 15. Further advice from the US Surgeon General states that social media exposure during the period of brain development warrants additional scrutiny. Minimum age of 16 allows access to social media after young people are outside the most vulnerable adolescent stage. During the development of the bill, the Department of Infrastructure, Transport, Regional Development, Communications and Arts conducted extensive consultation with young people, parents, mental health professionals, legal professionals, community and civil society groups, state and territory first ministers, and industry representatives. Preferences from the minimum age of social media typically range from 14 to 16, with some support for 18 years. Oh, bite me. How can the UK be taken seriously after the Jaguar rebranding? Don't know how it is in Australia, but even schools here have most of the curriculum online. Kids need to communicate somehow with group projects. It's easy to use social apps that they already have. Yes, I agree with you on that, Grifter. And they've said that apps that are used for educational purposes will be exempt. I agree with you. Parents should be parents. As far as I'm concerned, that's all it boils down to. 12-year-olds can say that they want to be the other sex. No, more to the point, Black Horse Cavalry. 13-year-olds can access one of the most graphic books I've ever seen about sex. The book that was put onto the Prime Minister's Awards for children's writing, or educational material, or whatever it was. But oh no, God forbid Timmy be able to talk to somebody on Twitter. Or read about how the government is a fucking joke. Sorry, I know that's gross. Parents and carers feel unsupported to make evidence-based choices about when their children should be on social media, and many are overwhelmed by pressure from their children and other families. Oh, I don't know. Maybe buck up and do your own research and stop expecting someone else to do it for you. This is supported by a recent survey conducted by the E-Safety Commissioner. Oh yeah, that's a trustworthy source. With 95% of caregivers reporting that children's online safety is the hardest parenting challenge that they face, setting a minimum age removes ambiguity about when the right time is for the children to engage on social media and establishes a new social norm. The same one that teaches you how to meet men anonymously for hookups. No, that's not that. That's not that book. What it will teach you is how two girls can scissor, or how a guy can go down on another guy, or I don't know. Like, I've only seen bits and pieces of that book. I don't want that filth in my brain, if I'm perfectly honest. Guys, you know me. I used to do Kinky Corner on this channel. I'm fairly open when it comes to that sort of shit with adults. This is a book that was aimed at kids as young as 11. It's feral. Community sentiment in the New South Wales aligns with the finding. New South Wales government conducted a Have Your Say survey of more than 21,000 responses in relation to social media use and impacts in August and September 2024. 87% of the respondents expressed support for a minimum age for social media. Respondents aged 16 or older, 16 years was the most commonly suggested minimum age, 40%, and 18 years the second most common, with the average suggestion of 16.2. Yeah, see, here's the thing though. 21,000 people don't represent the views of 29 million people. Especially not when I'm willing to bet that, I mean, to be fair, it was all New South Wales, so it's come to America legally. Unfortunately, I've got too much timing here at the moment. How about the new social norm of 1776 in Australia? It's starting to get that way, in my opinion. Minimum age of 16 years for access to age-restricted social media platforms aims to meet the expectations of Australians to minimise exposure to the harms experienced by young people on social media. At the same time, the framework provides for making of legislative rules to exclude specific services. Here we go. Provides for the making of legislative rules. The rules that basically Julie and Grant will be in charge of. I can tell you right now, X is not going to be on that list. Such as messaging apps and services that primarily support health and education, ensuring young people have continued access to beneficial online activities, including connections with friends, access to community and support services, and participating in public life. Tell me how the hell they're supposed to do any of that when the public forums are missed. The Trojan horse used it as a segue for digital ID. Yes, I've already been railing about that about 20 minutes ago. The bill introduces an obligation on providers of the age-restricted social media platforms to take reasonable steps to prevent age-restricted users from having an account with the platform. The onus is on the platforms to introduce systems and processes that can be demonstrated to ensure that people under the minimum age cannot create or hold a social media account. It's not the intention of the bill that would publish a platform for individual instances where young people circumvent any reasonably appropriate measures put in place by the platform. However, a systemic failure to take action to limit such circumventions could give rise to a breach. Thank you, Nicholas. Aussie Demonetization Fund. Appreciate it. Hang on, why did they not read? Speakerbot's still up? I'll manually.
Nick Stero. Seek 50.00. Aussie Demonetization Fund.
Is the digital ID optional or mandatory? It's optional until you want to engage in certain services. For example, towards the end of the year, they're pushing for MyGov to become My Digital ID. You want to access Centrelink or the tax office, it's optional for you, but it's going to be a hell of a lot harder. Onus on the platforms. There are no penalties for age-restricted viewers who may gain access to an age-restricted platform or for their parents or carers. It is impossible for governments to completely prohibit young people from accessing harmful products or content. Australia should be prepared for the reality of that some people will break the rules or slip through the cracks. However, the bill will set clear parameters for our society and assist in ensuring the right outcomes, much like the age-based laws that seek to limit or minimise access to known harms, such as for the sale of alcohol and cigarettes. Comparing access to Facebook or X to alcohol and cigarettes. What if you use an accountant for that sort of stuff? Some of the stuff you can't use an accountant for, but yeah, that's probably one way around a good chunk of the tax stuff anyway. The bill does not dictate how platforms must comply with the minimum age obligation. That's misleading in my opinion. The bill itself specifies that the rules will be created after the fact and that the fail to meet those industry standards will result in harsh monetary penalties. That line right there, as far as I'm concerned, is a bald-faced lie. It is expected at minimum the obligation will require platforms to implement some form of age assurance as a means of identifying whether a prospective or existing account holder is an Australian child under the age of 16 years. Whether an age assurance methodology meets the reasonable steps test will be determined objectively, having regard to the suite of methods available, their relative efficacy, costs associated with their implementation, and data and privacy implications of the user, amongst other things. Outcomes of the Australian government age assurance trial are likely to be instructive for the regulated entities and will form the basis of regulatory guidance issued by the Commissioner in the first instance. Technology and digital space continue to undergo defining the regulatory... Bill introduces an obligation on age-restricted social media platforms, which is a new term being introduced into the Online Safety Act. Definition of this term largely draws on the existing meaning of social media service from this Section 13 of the Act, with a modification to expand the sole or primary purpose test to a significant purpose test when examining whether a service enables online social interactions between two or more users. This definition will not apply to other parts of the Online Safety Act, with the existing definition remaining in effect. Excuse me. While the definition of age-restricted social media platform casts a wide net, flexibility to reduce the scope or further target the definition will be available through legislative rules made by the Minister for Communications. Boom. The ability to widen the net to catch more or to narrowly target a certain individual company will be available through the legislative rules, which is quite literally, she writes them, they become law, by the Minister for Communications. In exercising the rulemaking power, the Minister will be required to seek and have regard to advice from the E-Safety Commissioner. Should we make it so that no one over the age of 16 is allowed on X or Facebook? You know, I think maybe we should. I think that would be for the best, because that would let me get... That'd let me stab someone in the back. I have no idea. What message did I hide? It was an accident. It was D Watt saying, yeah, that was high school for me. It was as simple as in STDs. Nobody was trying. Okay. Fair enough. There'll be arguments that it's just the metadata that they're recording, but that doesn't matter what you're using the internet for with digital ID. It will let the government track what you're doing. Yes, it will. Particularly if it's attached to your personal IP address. Ensure that users under the minimum age retain access to platforms that predominantly provide beneficial experiences. So basically, the Minister for Communications will decide at whim which social media platforms kids under the age of 16 will be able to access. Or should I say, which platforms individuals over the age of 16 will need to register for in order to prove their identity. Everything that comes through disallowable instruments rather than through primary legislation allows the government to be responsive to changes and evolutions in the social media ecosystem. Fuck off. That's something that the government should be dealing with in Parliament, not under the table. Disallowable instruments are open to scrutiny by the Parliament if they're raised in Parliament and therefore subject to parliamentary oversight to ensure instruments are fit for purpose. That's bullshit. Everyone knows that the only time that those instruments come up in Parliament is if a member of Parliament raises it as an issue. If a member of the public has an issue with it, never going to see the light of day. Digital wrist tattoos for you. That's kind of what it feels like, gang. Going to be optional in name only. You'll be able to access the internet, but using services on it will require providing digital ID. At first instance, the government proposes to make legislative rules to exclude the following services from the definition of age: messaging apps, online gaming services, services for primary use in support of health and education of end users. Following the passage of the bill through Parliament, the government will undertake public consultation on the draft rules with the aim of ensuring they adequately reflect the bill's intent of minimising harms on social media platforms. It's intended that the rules are consulted on, settled, and made by the Minister for Communication before the commencement of the minimum age obligation, which will occur at least 12 months after royal assent. Wait, what's this? Regulated activity. Age-restricted social media platforms must be able to demonstrate having taken reasonable steps to prevent age-restricted users from having an account. Reasonable steps is a standard that has been imposed for the purpose of demonstrating compliance and features in national security legislation, privacy law, and elsewhere in the Online Safety Act. Regulating the act of having an account will prevent age-restricted users from accessing the content and features that are available to signed-in account holders on social media platforms. This will help mitigate the risks arising from the harmful... Oh yeah, by the way, they do realize that you can access a bunch of these sites without actually logging in, right? I mean, you can actually go onto X without being logged in. You can... actually, I don't think you can go on a Facebook. So at age 16, when the Australians
said
gain
so
rights.
at age 16 is when Australians gain rights.
Not so much. Like I said, this to me is just a backdoor into the digital ID. basically at age 16, it's when we're going to get our barcodes. That's actually a really good way of putting it. The trouble is that I don't like the connotation because I know what that will raise reference to for people. But that's effectively what it will be. It will be a digital ID that will be linked to anything and everything that you do online. America sets the tone for the world. Hopefully it helps. Trouble is, it won't be because Musk and I believe Trump actually even made a comment on it, and Albanese dismissed it entirely. He basically said, well, I don't really care what Trump or Musk have to say because I make the rules for Australia. For another couple of months, mate, at most. Because good luck in the election. At age 16, you have the right to be tracked by the government. Yeah, actually, you know what? That works too. Impossible to regulate at a website level unless Oz bans VPNs. They're coming for those next. They've already flagged it. Yep, the Australian government's already flagged that they want to remove VPNs. How the hell they enforce that, I've got no idea, but it's on the cards anyway. He will when Trump puts a squeeze on our economy. US goes, guess you don't need any aid. Do we actually get any aid from the... I mean, aside from the subs and things like that, I don't think that we get any foreign aid. It sucks worldwide, but I really believe Trump and America did something here. Look, I'm praying that shit changes between what's going on in Argentina and now that you've got Trump. I am fingers crossed, toes crossed, nutsack crossed right now that things change. Honestly. The obligation will not affect user access to logged out versions of social media platforms. As an example, the obligation would not affect the current practices of users viewing content on YouTube without first signing into an account. Similarly, Facebook offers users the ability to view some content, such as a landing page for a business or services, a social media at their business host platform without logging in. Wait, what? So you admit that not having... So you admit that it's not about protecting the kids from the content? Because, sweetheart, I'll give you a very, very blunt thing here. Anything that's inappropriate for kids to watch on YouTube, for example, you have to be signed in for to see it over the age of 18. If you're admitting that that it is not about protecting kids from seeing the content because they can still view it without an account, then you are saying the quiet part out loud and that you have an ulterior motive for this. Yes, Kathy, that's why I had to add it. Bill provides minimum age obligation will come into effect on the day to be specified by the Minister for Communications by way of notifiable instrument, not earlier than 12 months after royal assent. This deferred commencement will provide Industry and E-Safety Commissioner with sufficient time to develop and implement appropriate systems, ensure that the regulator and regulated sectors are set up for success. Fuck off. Allowing for discretion on the effective date also allows the government's age. Whoa!
Redacted Stingy said your foreign aid. Now you get it from us.
Smart ass. Actually, that's great. Thank you so much for the super chats, people. Feel free to continue sending your local Aussie foreign aid. Okay, so that's about the date. Age assurance trial. Okay. The government provided funding in the 2024-2025 budget to conduct a broad three-phase trial of age assurance, including an assessment of technologies to examine options to protect children from harmful online content, including on social media and age-restricted content such as pornography. That was the other quiet part that they said out loud. That they weren't just looking about how to put ID against social media, but adult websites as well. Congrats, peeps. If you want to go and have a wank, you're going to have to be able to sign in with your digital ID. Albo will be asked at this election. Most Australians are fickle, and it's rare for a party to last more than one term. No, I agree with you on that, on that, Darren. That's why they want this through next week. Because next week is the last sitting day that they have to push this through. And they want to try and get this done before the new year, before he has to start his campaign run. Excuse me. The objective of the trial is to determine the effectiveness of available age assurance technologies as an option to prevent access to online pornography for people under the age of 18 and to age limit access to social media for an age range between 13 and 16. Three key elements of the trial: independent testing and assessment of currently available age assurance technologies, research including consumer research into Australian attitudes towards the use of age assurance technologies, and consultation. Technology trial examines available age assurance technologies and methods such as age verification, age estimation, age inference, parental certification or controls, and technology stack deployments against a range of criteria, including accuracy, privacy, protections, and data security. Technology trial invites Australians to participate in testing these different age assurance solutions in a live environment and evaluating the available technologies against these parameters. The trial will provide guidance with the government, e-safety, don't care about that. Penalties. Bill will create new civil penalty provisions and require age-restricted social media platforms to take reasonable steps to prevent age-restricted users from having an account. Failure by the provider will be subject to 30,000 penalty units, currently equivalent to $9.9 million. This increases to 150,000 penalty units, currently equivalent to $49.5 million, if the provider is a body corporate due to the application of Section 82 of the Regulatory Powers. Penalties do not apply to age-restricted users who gain access to an age-restricted social media platform or to their parents, carers, or educators. So it's not about the parents failing to parent. It's that, hey, if you're a company and you fuck up and allow a kid onto the platform, we're going to charge you $49.5 million. Yeah, that works. I think if they stop younger minds seeing things that may go against the official narrative, then they'll just buy whatever the government says. Yep. Won't let me send aid, I tried, so I owe you $2. Thank you, King Bob. Appreciate that. Moment that passes, say goodbye to X. Yep. Pornhub's blocked in Tennessee, but other sites aren't blocked. They're doing the bigger, well-known sites. I had to restrict my 11-year-old phone so I know which ones you can access. You had to... Wait. You had to restrict your 11-year-old's phone because they tried to access the hub? On the one hand, based as hell. On the other hand, damn. The bill will also increase civil penalties for non-compliance. So 9.9. Body corporate, 49.5 million. These amounts are consistent with the maximum penalties currently available for contravention of the Australian consumer law and for serious and repeated inferences under the Privacy Act. Both provide maximum penalties of at least $50 million, noting that higher maximum penalties may be available depending on the turnover of the offending body corporate. Maximum civil penalties of $49.5 million for bodies corporate, so companies, will also bring Australia in line with the online safety maximum financial penalty in Ireland, the European Union, and the UK, which we so most definitely want to follow. Like, seriously. Other sites like Spankbag and Pornzog you can access. I went to the dark internet to find which sites aren't age restricted. Is it even enforceable with VPNs and whatnot? It's not going to matter because, I mean, don't get me wrong. The Australian government's already flagged that they're coming after VPNs after this. But the simple fact of the matter is that the way that they're enforcing it, they're putting it on the companies, so VPNs become effectively irrelevant. Will use face recognition to determine user? Well, that's the question. How are they going to do it? What part of age assurance are they going to use? Is it going to be? Are they going to be forcing us through the back door onto digital ID? Are you going to have to provide copies of your passport or driver's license? Which, frankly, I'm not a fan of doing anyway, because half the government agencies that have those details have been hacked in the last 2 years anyway. Hey, Daily Quick Bites. Looking pretty good considering. Dude, I'm not. But, shit happens. Penalty amounts are intentionally large, which reflects the significance of the harms the bill is intended to safeguard against. Also strongly signal the expectation that age-restricted social media platforms treat the age obligation seriously. What a joke. Don't care about the privacy protections, independent review, financial impact statement, consultation. Yeah, at least there's a whole bunch of shit in here that I can just ignore. They have a compatibility with human rights. Online Safety Amendment is compatible with the human rights and freedoms recognized or declared in the international instruments listed in Section 3 of the... How? Bill contains a range of amendments. Bill engages the following rights. Principle and the best interest of the child be primary consideration. Actions concerning children. Article 3 of the Convention of Children. The right to freedom of opinion and expression in Article 19 of the International Convention on Civil and Political Rights. The right not to be subject to arbitrary or unlawful interference with one's privacy. So they're saying that the bill complies with all this shit, which I don't know that I believe. Protection of the rights of children, right to security of person. Oh, I'll be damned. They go through and explain it all. Article 19.1 of the ICCPR provides that everyone shall have the right to hold opinions without interference. Article 12.1 of the CRC provides that a child who is capable of forming their own views has the right to express those views freely in all matters affecting the child, with the views of the child being given due weight in accordance with age and maturity of the child. Article 19.2 provide that everyone shall have the right to freedom of expression, including freedom to seek, receive, and impart information and ideas. So how the hell does the bill work with that? Bill will engage with the right to freedom of expression by introducing a requirement for social media platforms to take reasonable steps to prevent age-restricted users from having accounts with civil penalties. Limitation on the right to the freedom of expression is necessary to achieve the bill's legitimate objective in promoting the best interests of the child, including through promotion of other rights such as the right to security of the person and the right not to be subject to arbitrary or unlawful interference with privacy, not to unlawful attacks on one's honor or reputation, the right to protect... Oh my God, this is why we need a proper Bill of Rights here. I wholeheartedly agree with you. This is incredibly subjective. Just more steps towards a social credit score living? Yep. You sound pretty good, feeling better? Nope, I got COVID. I thought it was bronchitis. I got a text message at about 3 o'clock today after I'd already had a full day at work. And I got the text message back going saying, oh yeah, by the way, that swab that the doctor took of your throat after he told you it was bronchitis, yeah, not so much. So I've had a fever, I've been sweating and all that sort of stuff. I'm just... The main reason I'm here, guys, is because this bill was introduced today and they gave us 24 hours to supply submissions on it. So, given that I've got a full day of work tomorrow as well, this is the only chance I'm going to have to put anything together to submit in opposition to this. You don't have COVID. Tell that to the 2 tests that I took when I got home. Yes, I can see your messages, AP. What's that? What states? Can't you get a government ID that's not a driver's license? Not so much, really. Proliferation of... Okay, so basically this is a whole bunch of BS about how they're trying to say that the bill is for the best benefits of the child and that squashing their freedom of expression and ability to access forums is for their own protection. Right of protection against arbitrary and unlawful interference for privacy, unlawful. Protection against discrimination, protection of rights of children, right to highest attainable standard of physical and mental health. This is what happens when you don't have a primary right that's above all. How are we allowed to go to work? I'm not. I'll have to work from home. But I still have shit to do. KeyPass is an ID, not license, but you have to apply digitally now. And I don't think KeyPass counts as a government-issued ID either. So there's a lot of places that won't accept it. Like if you do, for example, if I'm dealing with probate and things like that, Live in the US, maybe can't get a government issued ID in Australia. You know, I've never actually had to worry about it. Oh yeah, no, there actually is one. There's an ID card that you can get. Worst case scenario, just get a passport. Bill is compatible with human rights, blah, blah, blah. Okay, notice some clauses, short title. All right, that's just going through bullshit there that I don't need to worry about. Item 3 expand. I don't need to read all that because we already read through the act. That was just the definition of age-restricted social media platform. A wide net is cast by definition with the intent to capture that the capture would be narrowed by legislative rules made by the minister. Section 63C1 provides that an electronic service in an age-restricted social media platform if it meets the following conditions. Paragraph 63C1A4 allows the minister to make legislative rules that impose additional conditions to be satisfied for the meaning of age-restricted social media platform. This allows for the narrowing and further targeting of the definition. Provided for a rulemaking power, it is intended to provide the minister with flexibility to respond to any inadvertent capture arising from the definition, as well as the evolving social media ecosystem. Legislative rules are subject to the parliamentary scrutiny and the disallowance process. Yeah, okay, fine. But again, the disallowance process and parliamentary scrutiny are only there if a member of parliament brings it to the floor. No everyday Australian has the right to criticise any of these things and have it brought before. Mass exodus from Australia in 5 years. I'm not so sure that it's going to be 5 years. 350 have hit. Passports are rip-off if you aren't planning to travel. That is true. I enroll in TAFE course at the moment because my proof of age is out of date. Oh, shit, really? Provides a minister may make legislative rules that specify an electronic service or a class of services to be an age-restricted social media platform. So it is in complete... So they admit that it is in complete discretion of the minister to decide what is an age-restricted social media platform. The minister may only make such rules if they're satisfied that it's reasonably necessary to do so in order to minimize the harm. I hate that language. I hate that. So as long as they are satisfied that it is reasonable... As long as I am satisfied that it is reasonably necessary for me to get up and get a Coke, I can do so. We can change the rules when we want. Yep, that's pretty much what it boils down to. The minister must seek advice from the commissioner. Oh yeah, because Julian Grant's going to be so against restricting access on the internet, isn't she? Have regard to that advice, may seek other advice. Social media said, already got all that. Service out of scope. If the service provided in the legislative rules made by the minister must seek advice. Civil penalties, having accounts, reasonable steps. We read through all that. Maximum penalty. Information to be destroyed. Okay. On 21 November 2024, the Senate referred the provisions of the Online Safety Amendment Bill to the Environment and Communications Legislation Committee for report by 26 November. Closing date for submissions is 22 November. Due to the short time frame of this inquiry, the committee would appreciate submissions being limited to 1 to 2 pages. As inquiry, the online safety... To Smeech. Your submission is accepted. It may be published on the internet with your name. No shit, you think? Before you show your submission to someone else, check if the committee's accepted it and decided to publish it. First time submitting on an online inquiry, need to make a My Parliament login. Okay, hang on. I gotta fill in details and I don't need everybody seeing my private stuff, so. Create account. Registration accepted. Oh wait, I already had one. Oh well, it happens. Sorry peeps, I know this is boring, just give me a sec. Here to confirm and activate your account. There we go. I'll log in. I don't usually use the work email for this sort of stuff, but you know what? This time around, I feel like I need to throw my weight around a little bit. Okay, make a submit inquiry if you wish to change the personal. You'll have to include all of those. Okay, 1 second. Still use the work address, nice, but I'm knowing all my details. Alright, Deanna. Your ID has expired this morning, so how are we to know you are you? Well, you kind of don't. Contact details will not be published and will be removed by the Secretariat if you're submitting your document on behalf of the organisation. Only the organisation will name. No, I'm fine for it to be published on the... Okay. Alright, so that's ready to go. So that means that I just need to type up the actual document. God, I wish they'd take this bloody Copilot AI out of the friggin' like Word and stuff. Probably. Youngest grandson's birthday. Arthur is 2 years old today. Hey, wow. Yahoo. Wow, the cross nutsack's really got you, didn't Kathy? You know what? I'm going to shortcut this, and I'm going to use... to the honourable members of the Australian Parliament. No, actually, I think I want to use Dragon instead. That's going to annoy me. Hang on. Honestly, Dragon Natural Speaking is one of the best things that I've actually Oh, right, because I changed the want you to what I tell you to. Honourable members of the Australian Parliament, comma. My name is Hayden Glaister. Of course it doesn't. All that right. Damn it. I'm a current Australian legal practitioner, a father. Oh, I probably should have put my name in there. And what mum, oh dear, mum, and what some would humbly consider to be a social media commentator. I'm submitting this in relation to the above act with the aim of presenting my perspective on the proposed legislative measure concerning social media access for minors. A YouTube god. Not even close. It is with great concern that I read and wholeheartedly considered the proposed bill and wish to raise the following as points in opposition. The bill presupposes that digital literacy is inherently linked to reaching the age of 16 years. However, it is crucial to note that digital competence is not age dependent. Where are my notes? Instead of age-based restrictions, comma, a focus on digital education would better serve community needs by equipping young individuals with the necessary tools to navigate the online world safely and responsibly. Full stop. Social media platforms serve as forums. Wait, no, I'll make that next one. Social media platforms serve as forums for social interaction and learning, and community engagement amongst young people. Implementing age restrictions will in all likelihood alienate younger individuals from beneficial social interactions, potentially driving them towards less monitored and more dangerous online interactions. Oh, damn. Seed fan, thank you.
Seedfan85 said many of the justifications that have been handed down in regards to this, i.e. girls seeing picture of beautiful women online, are just rehashes of the same stuff that was said about beauty magazines.
Very much appreciate that, Seed fan, thank you. The proposed age verification mechanisms will likely lead to significant privacy issues, creating scenarios where personal data is collected on a massive scale. Given the prevalence of security breaches in both public and private sector it is of significant concern that any data of children aged 16 to 18 would be collected, let alone that parents or any adult who should have unrestricted access to social media may be placed in a vulnerable position. Such measures might not only fail to enhance safety, but also expose users to risks that they would otherwise not be vulnerable to. Oh, this really is going to be word salad. Unfortunately, my brain's not firing on all cylinders, but I have no options. Oh my god. While the intent to create a safer online environment is commendable, the methods proposed are outright draconian, and the restriction will likely prove counterproductive. Full stop. It will lead to a situation where young users seek out less regulated spaces, undermining the very safety that the bill aims to ensure. Allegedly. The role of parental oversight in managing children's internet use should not be supplanted by government mandate. Full stop. It is not the place of the government to overstep such boundaries and insert itself into the family unit. What access to information my child has, comma, in particular under my roof, comma, provided such information is not illegal, comma, is entirely within my discretion. And does not require the involvement of the government. This legislation is an overreaching intervention into family dynamics, implying that parents are ill-equipped to guide their children's online activities. Rather than implementing such overstepping legislation, comma, education for parents who are otherwise ill-equipped would not only be more beneficial, but would not infringe upon the rights of the community at large. Can I just say, I'm well aware of the fact that I sound like such a dick right now. Got a fever going as well. This is probably going to get ignored, but I'll feel bad if I don't submit something. Given the internet... Given the interconnected nature of the internet, young Australians could be able to bypass local restrictions by accessing international platforms, rendering the effort and expense of the bill worthless. If nothing else, this may create a situation where Australian children are less versed in digital culture and trends, leaving them at a disadvantage when operating in global markets in the future. While the safety and well-being of minors online should be paramount to all I don't like that. Should be paramount. Another word for paramount. I don't want to use paramount. Considered extremely important. The obligations and responsibility on parents should not abdication of the cause additional burdens and responsibilities and requirements on everyday Australians, full stop. It is not the government's place to parent. It never has been and ever will be. The method proposed in the Online Safety Amendment Bill is likely doomed to fail. And will be nothing more than an expensive exercise in futility and give the perception of petty revenge. I use it. Against social media companies. I strongly urge that the members of Parliament consider alternative strategies, including to enhance digital literacy and promote safe internet usage through education and technological innovation rather than imposing blanket age restrictions. It is imperative that we engage in broader discourse on how to best balance regulation with freedoms and opportunities that the digital age offers everyday Australians. It is widely known that young individuals obtain proper maturity at approximately the age of 25. And many consider to make poor decisions long after this age. In today's day and age, there are the gap between tech-savvy youths and older individuals, affectionately referred to as open quotes boomers, close quotes, continues to widen. Kids are far more technologically adept than their parents. Okay, Jaren, that made me laugh. Hang on. Put in your lolcow adjacent. So, Jaren, you know what the hilarious thing is? Probably tomorrow when I do the regular show, and then we like the day after that we'll do the Rumble exclusive. But more likely than not, tomorrow is going to be all about Alan Jones. Do you guys like? For those of you that don't understand, what's going on with Alan Jones is effectively on the same scale as what happened with Nick. Because Alan Jones, I'm not talking about Alex Jones, I'm talking Alan Jones, an 83-year-old media personality here in Australia, was just arrested on like 26 charges of indecently assaulting individuals, including an Olympian or some shit like that. I haven't looked too deep into it. I'm going to. But the point is, this guy like wielded power in the media like there was no tomorrow. And the parallels that I'm seeing between what's happened with him and what happened with Nick are insane. Like, you've got the people that have turned on him immediately. You've got the people sweeping like Peter Credlin. You've got like it's amazing to watch. So I got a Jimmy Savile too. I'm in no way like I'm not saying anything, okay? It's all allegations. There's nothing, and Alan Jones is well and truly denying all allegations, okay? To be perfectly honest, 2 of the charges against him are common assault. That means that, you know, he might have hit somebody. So. Jimmy Savile was the metal sheet guy. Oh, Rolf Harris. Yeah, well. This does not mean that parents are entitled to abdicate their responsibility to properly parent and expect the government to intervene. Nor should the government intervene on behalf of all parents In particular, in circumstances where children are isolated and unable to engage in physical interactions. A recent example would be the events of 2020/2021 that required large-scale lockdowns. Kind of hate that I had to sort of skirt around that. At what time's tomorrow's stream? A damn good question, actually. The Rumble one I can probably start a little bit later, because tomorrow's Friday for me, so I don't have to stress so much. It is not up to the government to determine for all parents and children whether or not the negative interactions on social media outweigh the positive.
Berries said, "Oi, pay attention to your chat that has good points."
Wait, what? Sorry. Let me pull the thing down here for a second. Sorry. What do we got? Almost the government parent. Someone should absolutely stay out of telling people how to dictate social media to their children. Government can't raise children. It's often been proven. Homeschooling, rural communities, hospital. Thank you. Oh, sorry. See you, Shelby. Slip that in. That's what he said. Tech savvy needs to be taught with better socialization skills. Hang on, really? Oh, the government. I don't want to say personalities. I don't want to sound so up myself. I don't think I got a choice though. All right, you know what? I think I'm happy with that. If you know more than 2 pages, then yeah. That's frozen, is it? Just humbly twice, change it to I'd have graciously. Okay. What else we got? Yeah, modestly will do. At least you're getting 18 hours. When Pelosi was in charge of the US House, she famously told us we have to pass the bill to see what's in it. What the fuck? Okay, it's not brilliant. I haven't included any legalese or any case law or anything like that, but screw it. I'm still feeling under the weather, and I just need to get this submitted because I don't know that I'm going to get the opportunity to work on it tomorrow. So, I don't need PDF. I should sign the damn thing. Griffith had a comment a while back about separated parents. Yeah, I saw that. The trouble is that messaging applications are specifically exempt. So they'll come back and say, oh, well, you know, like Facebook Messenger, for example, is exempt, whereas Facebook itself isn't. Like when they call a vote on a bill 8 hours after they provide for it to be exempt. It's pretty much exactly what they're doing here. So, now I've got to see if I've got my signature somewhere. I mean, not that it actually matters because everything that I physically sign, I put my actual signature on anyway. But want some sort of. I'm probably going to amend that last bit. I just had to vent my spleen.
AP said Bill's shortest summary. My fifis are hurt over memes. Kids make memes. I have to stop the memes, so my fifis don't get hurt. Albanese.
Is what it boils down to, yes. Mm. Elbow sneezy. Wait, what? That didn't actually work. Fine. Save as. Working or not? Create on my main one. Find OBS. file. Bill. Get the green light next to your uploaded and then submit. Wait, really? Did that? Oh. Assuming that that didn't go through because it logged me out. Okay, well, we'll run through it. Run back through it. Okay, so for anyone that wants to go and do their own submission, I will put a copy of the link into the video below, but I'll also throw it into chat now while I'm thinking about it. So we scroll down to Online Safety Amendment Bill provisions. Made. Oh, all right, I gotta put my address in again. All the gendering stuff, and it won't let me submit that I don't want to use a title. You have to create an account. Yeah, ironically, but at least it's only your name and email address, so that they've got that. Document published on the inquiry webpage. That's fine. Upload the file. Submission. And submit. If you're making a submission, documents, being sent to the committee. All right, there we go. Surprise, you need a digital ID to make a submission to Parliament. Probably will do at some stage. We have a laugh. My morning shit, bad truck's already covered in mud, and me making you laugh shock makes me feel a whole lot better. We all need your address. My address, like my postal address, is in the thing below the description on the video. So. Oh. All right. We got. Let's see. Can I just be absolute? Better goes to a spam inbox immediately. God, I hope not. Only something you said at the beginning of the stream. I'd actually appreciate more content focused on Aussie law rather than the news. That's surprisingly difficult, if I'm perfectly honest. But I mean, I try and cover legal stuff as it comes up. There's rules around what I can and can't report in terms of ongoing cases, but in terms of like changes to legislation, in terms of the boring side of law, I'm more than happy to deal with more of that. It's just, it takes time to research and make sure that I'm giving the correct information. But yeah, I'm more than happy to throw a bit more of that. Depends where the hell you sent it, Stinge. Oh, okay, I'm assuming there.
Illustrate something. What rhymes with even, as in, I don't get mad.
What was this supposed to say?
Illustrate something. What rhymes with even, as in, I don't get mad, I get even. I trench my grandma in semen.
Oh, Stingy! This is why you can't have nice things on the internet. That's all I'm saying. I try and do a serious video today, and just for Stingy, because he was having a bad day, I watched shit like this. But more to the point, all she was trying to do is, hey, what rhymes with even? MasterCard moment? Yeah, apparently. But I kind of want to see how bad this. There you go, Burberries. We don't have it here. We don't have Cash App or Venmo. There you go, Stinge. Hope that made your day a little bit easier. Oh. Alright, guys. This is mild. You've been dying laughing. Good. Glad to hear it. Could be the Haitians for the dog line. I think that might have been put out a little bit. Oh, wait. It was only a month ago. Yeah, probably should have been the Haitians. Alright, guys. I'm going to get out of here. Thank you so much to everyone that's kept me company while I put that submission together. Look, I'll be perfectly honest. That is nowhere near my best work. I just threw that together because I needed to lodge something because I would have felt terrible if I didn't. I'd rather voice my opinion than... I'd rather it be an imperfect voice than no voice at all, basically. So... But, anyway. Oh, hang on. I should probably see whether or not there's anywhere I can send you, now that I think about it. Hang on. Organization, redirect. Jeff's still doing that damn baby. Yes, he is. God damn it. I actually feel bad about sending you guys across there. But anyway, go and holler and make some noise, and I will see you all tomorrow. For those of you on Aussie time, don't be surprised if there might be like a midday-ish stream. But just giving you as a heads up, because I'm trying to work out timing and stuff for some other stuff, and I'm thinking around midday, 1 o'clock, I might try and swing something. But anyway, as always, stay healthy, wealthy, wise, and I'll catch you all on the flip side. Peace, peeps.
This shit, I'm out. Fuck this shit, I'm out. No thanks. Don't mind me. I'ma just grab my stuff and leave. Excuse me, please. Fuck this shit, I'm out. Nope. Fuck this shit, I'm out. Alright then. I don't know what the fuck just happened, but I don't really care. I'ma get the fuck up out of here. Fuck this shit, I'm